Long before the wind learned how to carry whispers across rivers, before the drums told stories under moonlit skies, the kingdom of Yumeria stood as a jewel of the western savannah. Yumeria was a vast and wealthy kingdom, its lands carpeted with green fields of millet and sorghum, its hills kissed by golden sun, its markets fragrant with spices, leather, and kola nuts. Travelers from faraway coasts came to Yumeria to trade gold for ivory, spices for silk, and stories for friendship. But Yumeria's greatest treasure was not its wealth. It was its crown, a sacred symbol believed to have been forged by the gods. The Oba, king, who wore the crown of Yumeria, was said to rule not only over the land but over the destiny of his people. It was believed that the crown chose its bearer, not the other way around. And once, in an age not so far away, love dared to stand before that crown. This is the story of how one woman's love brought shame to the throne, shook the pillars of tradition, and forced a kingdom to look into the mirror of its own soul. Prince Kenichuku was the first son of Oba Abidike, the 47th ruler of Yumeria. He was tall, with skin the color of roasted palm kernels, and eyes sharp like a hawk's. He moved like someone who knew the earth beneath him bowed to his steps. From the day he was born, the elders whispered that the gods had marked him for greatness. His mother, Queen Nana, had carried him for 10 moons, and on the night of his birth, a strange wind blew through the palace. The royal palm trees swayed though the night was still, and the talking drums from the eastern quarters beat on their own. The chief priest had said then, "This child's destiny is tied to the throne and the winds of change." As Kenichuku grew, he was trained in the ways of kingship, warfare, diplomacy, trade, the sacred language of the griots, and the ancestral songs. He was loved, admired, and feared. Maidens dreamed of being chosen as his bride, mothers whispered prayers that their daughters would catch his gaze, and chiefs nodded proudly whenever he spoke in the council. But beneath the golden robes and royal pride, Kenichuku was restless. He felt trapped in a life scripted by ancestors he had never met. Every decision he made had already been decided by tradition. Every woman who smiled at him was rehearsing a role she had been taught. He wanted, though he did not yet know what, to live beyond the shadow of the crown. It began on the night of the festival of New Yam. It was the kingdom's most sacred celebration. The people wore their finest wrappers, coral beads glittered under the torchlights, and the scent of roasted yam and palm oil filled the air. The talking drums echoed through the night like a heartbeat. Every year, the royal family made a grand entrance. The Oba would raise the first yam to the heavens, thank the gods, and bless the harvest. But this year, something unexpected happened. As the masquerade danced and maidens twirled around the bonfire, a young woman stepped into the clearing. She was not part of the dancers. She wore a simple indigo wrapper, beads around her ankles, and a head wrap of blue and gold. Her name was Adma, a daughter of a palm wine tapper from the outskirts of the kingdom. Adma danced not like the trained maidens but like water flowing down a hill. Her feet kissed the earth softly, her hips moved with grace, her hands painted stories in the air. The drummers, sensing her rhythm, shifted their beats. Even the masquerades paused. And in that moment, Prince Kenichuku saw her. The noise of the festival melted away. His eyes followed the sway of her movements like a man bewitched. He felt something crack open inside him, something no tutor, no elder, no ancestor had ever prepared him for. It was not desire alone. It was a pull, like the earth recognizing its missing piece. When their eyes met, Adma faltered for a heartbeat, then spun again, smiling faintly. She did not bow. She did not tremble. She looked at the prince like an equal, and for the first time in his life, Kenichuku was no longer a prince. He was simply a man. By dawn, the festival had ended, but the whispers had begun. Did you see how the prince looked at her? She is not of royal blood. A palm wine tapper's daughter? Abomination. The palace maids gossiped behind the kitchen huts. The elders shook their heads. And the queen, Nana, summoned her chief maid to find out everything about the girl named Adma. Adma, meanwhile, returned to her father's hut unaware of the storm gathering around her name. Her father, Pa Abu, was a humble man who tapped palm wine for a living. He was respected but not powerful. His wife, Mama Ifioma, had died years earlier, and Adma had grown up learning to be strong, kind, and bold. The prince could not sleep. That night, he sneaked out of the palace in a black cloak, his royal sandals replaced with leather slippers. He walked through the quiet paths of Yumeria until he reached the grove where the moonlight fell like silver on the earth. And there she was. Adma. Waiting by the well with a calabash of water. Why are you here, prince? She asked softly, not bowing. Don't call me prince, he whispered. Tonight, I'm just Kenichuku. Their meeting was brief but powerful. They spoke not of crowns or thrones, but of dreams. She told him she wanted to build a weaving house for women who had no husbands. He told her he wanted to see the world beyond Yumeria's walls. When they parted, the night itself seemed to sigh. But unseen, behind the Iroko tree, a shadow listened. Obidi, one of the royal guards who had always wanted to rise in power, smirked. He had found a secret that would make him rich. The meetings continued. Beneath the moon, in the grove, in the forest, near the old well. Kenichuku and Adma's love grew like wild yam, hidden underground, unstoppable. But tradition in Yumeria was not kind to such love. The crown prince was bound to marry from the royal lineage of another kingdom to strengthen alliances. The Oba had already promised him to Princess Chinia of Anguil Kingdom. The union was to be a powerful political bond. Queen Nana summoned her son. She spoke in the royal courtyard where the tortoise carving stared with wise eyes. Kenichuku, a prince does not belong to himself. Your heart may wander, but your blood is tied to the crown. But mother, he said, what if I wish to choose for myself? Then you will break what your ancestors built. Love may warm your heart, but duty feeds the kingdom. Kenichuku clenched his fists. He loved his mother, but he loved Adma in a way that defied reason. He felt torn between the world he had inherited and the world he wanted to build. Meanwhile, Adma faced her own storm. The villagers whispered. Some mocked her. Some warned her to flee. A few envied her. Pa Abu begged her to stop meeting the prince. My daughter, the lion may love the goat, but in the end, the goat still bleeds. But she could not. Love, once awakened, is not easily caged. Word reached the Oba. He sat upon the royal stool, the golden crown resting beside him. He was not a cruel king, but he was a guardian of tradition. His ancestors' voices echoed in his dreams every night. Summon the girl, he ordered. Adma was brought to the palace. Her feet touched the cold marble floors as she was led to the great hall. Chiefs and elders sat in rows. Drums were silent. The prince stood at the corner, his eyes burning with helplessness. Oba Obidite looked at her with the weight of 1,000 ancestors. Adma, daughter of Abu, he said, I have heard of your beauty and the madness it has sown in my son's heart. Tell me, do you love him? Her voice trembled, but she did not bow. Yes, my king. I love him. Gasps rippled through the hall. And do you understand he is the future of this kingdom? I understand, she whispered. But I love not the prince. I love the man. Silence. Then the Oba spoke words that chill every ear. Then your love is a danger to the throne. He raised his staff. From this day, no daughter of a commoner shall touch the blood of kings. You shall stay away from the prince, or face exile. Kenichuku fell to his knees before his father. Father, please. Silence. A prince does not beg for what he cannot have. But love is a stubborn river. It always finds another path. That night, as the moon drowned behind heavy clouds, an old woman appeared at Adma's hut. She wore a wrapper woven with cowrie shells, her hair white like smoke, her eyes glowing faintly. She was Izioma, the kingdom's oldest seer. Child, she rasped, you have stirred something that sleeps beneath the crown. I don't understand, Adma said. Long ago, a prophecy was written. The prince who chooses love over crown will awaken the storm that no sword can silence. You are the storm, child. And storms do not beg for mercy. Then she vanished into the darkness, leaving behind a single cowrie shell that hummed with warmth. Obidi, the ambitious god, saw an opportunity. He went to Princess Chinia's father in Anguil Kingdom and whispered poison into his ears. The Prince of Yumeria has given his heart to a commoner. Fury spread like wildfire. Anguil threatened to break the alliance. War loomed. Traders grew restless. Chiefs whispered rebellion. In desperation, Queen Nana devised a cruel plan. She sent soldiers to abduct Adma under the cover of night. They tied her hands and carried her deep into the forest to the shrine of the Silent River, a place where only the condemned were taken. Kenichuku discovered the truth too late. When he reached the shrine, the priests had already begun the cleansing ritual. A rope of white cloth bound Adma's wrists. They would wash her memory with sacred water, making her forget the prince forever. But love, again, defied the gods. As the priest raised the calabash, lightning tore the sky open. The wind howled. The cowrie shell Adma held burst with blinding light. The shrine shook. The priest fell backward. Kenichuku grabbed her and ran. But Obidi saw them flee. The prince and Adma disappeared into the forest. They crossed rivers, climbed hills, and fled beyond the kingdom's watchtowers. Behind them, Yumeria burned with rumors. The Oba declared the prince banished until he returned to fulfill his royal duty. In exile, their love blossomed without the weight of the crown. They built a small hut by the Whispering Falls. Adma wove baskets and sang songs at night. Kenichuku hunted, fished, and carved stories on wood. For a time, they were free. But destiny has long legs. The kingdom was falling into unrest. Without the prince, the chiefs fought for power. Princess Chinia's kingdom prepared for war. Famine began to whisper at the kingdom's door. Then, one night, Izioma appeared again at the lover's hut. You cannot outrun prophecy, she said. The crown has been shamed. And the gods demand a price. What price? Adma whispered. Either your love, or the kingdom. Obidi, hungry for power, returned to Yumeria claiming he had seen the prince dead. the Oba fell into despair. In the chaos, Obidi rallied soldiers to take the throne. But tradition forbade a god from wearing the crown. Still, he had one thing, Princess Chinia's army behind him. As war drums beat across the plains, the people of Yumeria cried out for their true prince. The chiefs demanded his return. The Oba grew weak with sorrow. And far away, Kenichuku heard the call of the drums. "We must go back," he said. "If we return," Adma whispered, "they will kill me. Then they will have to kill me first." They walked back through the night, hand in hand. At dawn, as the mist wrapped around the palace walls, the banished prince and the commoner girl arrived at the great gate of Yumeria. Obidi stood with armed men. Princess Chinia's soldiers watched like hawks. "Kenichuku," Obidi roared. "You abandon your crown for a peasant. You are not fit to rule. Then why does the earth itself tremble at my return?" Kenichuku's voice boomed. The drums fell silent. Even the wind listened. Izioma appeared once more, her white hair flying like a flag of prophecy. "This is the moment foretold," she cried. "If the prince chooses love, the crown shall break. If he chooses the crown, love shall die. But only truth can save the kingdom." The crowd held its breath. The Oba, frail but standing tall, stepped forward. "My son," he said, "the ancestors are watching. The kingdom is bleeding. Choose." Kenichuku turned to Adma. She smiled softly, though her eyes were heavy with tears. "Choose the crown," she whispered. "I will not let my love destroy what your people built." He shook his head. "Without you, the crown is an empty shell." But then Adma stepped forward, raised her chin, and spoke to the people. "I am not of royal blood. I am not meant to wear a crown. But if love is a curse, then let me be the sacrifice." Before anyone could stop her, she walked toward the shrine gate. She placed the cowrie shell on the ground and knelt. The sky rumbled. "Spirits of Yumeria," she said, "take my love, not his destiny." Lightning cracked. The cowrie shell shattered. A wave of warm wind swept through the crowd. Obidi's men stumbled back. The princess's soldiers fell to their knees. And the crown of Yumeria began to glow. Izioma laughed, her voice echoing like thunder. "The gods are not cruel. They did not demand love's death. They demanded truth." She pointed at the glowing crown. "The crown does not choose blood. It chooses heart." The crown lifted itself into the air, floated past the chiefs, past the Oba, past the prince, and landed on Adama's head. The people gasped. The elders fell to their knees. The chiefs trembled. Obidi tried to draw his sword, but the earth cracked beneath him. The gods themselves had spoken. The Oba, with tears in his eyes, bowed before Adama. "The crown has chosen," he whispered. Kenichuku stood beside her, not as a prince, but as a partner. The people began to chant. "Isnwani! Isnwani! Queen woman!" Adama was crowned the first common-born queen of Yumeria. Her first decree was to unite royal blood and commoners, declaring that love was not a sin but a bridge. The kingdom prospered under their rule. Trade flourished, wars ceased, and the Whispering Falls became a symbol of hope. Obidi was banished to the forest, never to return. Princess Chinia, humbled by the god's choice, swore peace. Years passed. Children grew up hearing the story of how love shamed the crown but also redeemed it. Drummers told it under the stars, griots carved it into calabashes, and lovers whispered it by moonlight. Adma and Kenichuku ruled not with fear but with compassion. They turned the palace into a place where every voice mattered. And in the night winds, if you listen closely, you can still hear the drums of that festival where a prince first saw a girl who danced like water. For it was not love that shamed the crown. It was the crown that feared love. And love won. True leadership is not about blood or birth, it is about heart. Love is not a weakness, it is a force stronger than tradition. No throne stands forever if it refuses to listen to its people. Destiny bends to truth, not fear. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more enchanting tales just like this one. Thank you.